Happy Friday, everyone, during this Halloween fest. Now, we've been watching some really messed up, freaky, scary movies this Halloween fest, and I thought, let's tone it down a notch for this Friday. Let's watch something a little more playful, what you think of when you think of old, scary movies. Let's watch a Bela Lugosi movie. So that's what we're doing. Tonight's review is of Mark of the Vampire, and it came out in 1935. And interestingly enough, this is an MGM film. It's not Universal. MGM didn't make many scary movies, to be honest. And this film was going to be named Vampires of Prague. However, it was rewritten to be called Mark of the Vampire. And this movie is very similar to Dracula, very similar. However, MGM had to change a lot of things in order to not get copyright stricken by Universal Studios. In fact, they had to change it from Transylvania to Czechoslovakia in this. They had to change the names. For example, Bela Lugosi, he plays a vampire of this account. He plays Count Mora instead of Count Dracula. There is a professor, an all-knowing professor of paranormal, vampires, werewolves. Instead of being Van Helsing, it is Professor Zelen, played by the great Lionel Barrymore. In fact, Lionel Barrymore being in this film was the main reason I wanted to see it, because I'm a big fan of his, and I don't get to see too many of his movies too often. So I thought the October season is the perfect time to watch a Lionel Barrymore film. And also, Lionel Atwill plays sort of the skeptic in this film. He doesn't believe in vampires. So, as I said, this is an MGM film, and it was directed by Tod Browning, who he directed Dracula. So it's interesting that he would go on to make this movie 4 years later, because this was made in 1935. So the setting of this is very similar again to Dracula. It takes place in Czechoslovakia. However, there's a castle. In the castle lives the Count. Now, the film starts out with an interesting plot where a very wealthy man has died. Now, he has 2 holes in the side of his neck. What are your thoughts when you see 2 holes in a neck? You think it was a blood-sucking vampire. Everyone in the town is freaking out because they think old superstitions, there's a vampire, it's living in this castle. And the daughter of the dead man really wants to get to the bottom of this. What's going on? How is my dad murdered? How is my father murdered? And eventually Lionel Barrymore, the professor, comes into the scene, and he says, look, I've studied this my whole career, and I know it when I see it that this is the mark of the vampire. Those 2 holes in the side of the neck means a vampire is on the loose. Now, there's not too much to this film. It's only an hour long. In fact, I will say that this is sort of the perfect movie for when you're tired and you're just... It's like back in the day, you would be up watching TV late at night and the scary movie would come on TV, and you might doze off a little bit. You might wake up and see that through the ending. I saw it through the ending. However, I'll admit I was falling asleep a little bit during the film. However, I do like this movie. It's definitely worth watching at least once, and like I said, it's only an hour. So it's sort of brought me back to those memories of when I was younger, and you keep waking up to the scary movie. So the interesting thing about this movie also is that Bela Lugosi is not the only vampire in this film. In fact, he has a daughter vampire named Luna. And they originally planned to have some sort of creepy incestual relationship between the father and the daughter vampire. However, of course, they took all those scenes out that suggested that incestual relationship between Bela Lugosi and Carol Borland's Luna. That's his daughter. And I was reading that the two actors actually had a very friendly relationship off screen. She was just a kid, and she would write letters with Bela Lugosi. And when she learned that this role was coming out, she jumped at the fact that maybe she could be a vampire in a movie, and she tried out for the part with MGM and she got it. So she truly followed in the footsteps of Bela Lugosi of some sorts. And sadly, she wasn't really in any films after this, but I thought she was very creepy. In fact, the scenes where you would see her looking into a window, stalking the characters of the film, were very scary. She has a very scary white face in this. And Bela Lugosi's vampire, he has a bullet mark through the side of his head. And I don't think it ever really explained how he got the bullet hole, but apparently he would put the makeup on himself for the movie, and it sort of aged him quite a bit, if you ask me. But he, of course, is the best at playing the Count, except for Nosferatu. That's my favorite of all time. However, I'm digressing. So, my favorite aspect of the film, obviously the plot's not going to be too wow. However, I loved the set. I loved the castle. I loved how they showed the spider webs, the bats flying around. There's a possum. So I loved the set. It's got that classic spooky Halloween vibe to it. And there's this beautiful scene where Luna comes down, like a transformation from bat back into human form. And it was so cool how they did that. And apparently it was a very difficult scene to accomplish, but they did a really good job with that scene. Now, obviously this movie isn't the scariest, which is what I was going for this Halloween spooky movie review, just to kind of tone it down, have some fun, because we always want at least one classic monster. This movie was a success. It made, a good sum of money for MGM. However, MGM was like, you know what, this isn't really our thing. So they didn't really make too many scary movies after this. In fact, they were like, okay, Universal, you do it. In fact, Universal was wanting an injunction to not show this movie because they thought it was just way too similar to Dracula. But it's a good movie to watch, fall asleep to perhaps, but recommend it. The next review hopefully will be a much scarier one for us. In fact, I'm saving a very good, one of my favorite, if not my favorite, classic scary movie to review. So I'll see you then. Until then, keep thinking of what Halloween costume you want for Halloween, because it's coming up. We've only got one more full week, so keep thinking and post in the comments what you think you'll be. But until next time, everyone, stay spooky.